Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Jay back in the movie room, of course, and good evening to my fellow grumpy old gentlemen, Ian and Mike and Bob and Harry and James. Um, this is our month-long marathon of movies where we picked two films for each other to watch, one a favorite and one just a random film. But I believe this time around it's just been random films for each one of us to talk about, as James said in his video. And speaking of which, James Higgins, DVD collector 1974, picked two really good films that I thoroughly enjoy for me to watch. And he said one of me picked because he figured I was the only one of the six of us besides him that would have it. And it is 1978's Martin. And the only reason I have this is I kept my VHS tape of it all these years. I bought this in 1987 or 88. I'm thinking probably 88 when I was a junior in high school. I bought it out of my lunch money that I saved during the week at Kmart. Um, we would go to Kmart usually every weekend, and the family, me, my mom, and my dad. And one week they had Cat's Eye and Martin in their little glass case on VHS tapes. And the first weekend I bought Cat's Eye, Stephen King movie from 1985. I bought it on VHS, and during a following week, I'd saved my lunch money. My dad always gave me $5 every morning, like for snacks and a pop or something if I wanted it throughout the day. I had lunch. My mom would pack me like a sandwich and bag of tater chips and stuff like that. I had that. And then Dad would give me $5 extra to do whatever I wanted to with. Well, during that week, I accumulated $25 by the end of the week, which is what this cost. And I bought it and never had seen it before. I really don't think I ever heard of it before. Of course, I've heard it. I'd heard of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, but this was pre-internet days, and didn't know much about George A. Romero. But this is his vampire movie that he done, and it's a really good film. I revisited it for the first time in 5 years. Never had the DVD of it. It's only been released on DVD a couple times. I think Anchor Bay released it, and Lionsgate released a DVD version of it. And it's kind of hard to come by. It's pretty much out of print. I looked online for the prices of it, and the Lionsgate DVD sells for like $30. But I said, what the hell, I'll just watch my VHS of it. If it gets a Blu-ray release, I'll buy the Blu-ray of it. But who knows in this day and age if it'll ever see the light of day. John Amplis, I believe is how you pronounce his name, tells a story where he's a vampire, but he's a different kind of vampire. Or maybe he's not even a vampire. It's kind of left up for the audience to decide. There's flashbacks throughout the movie where he's like in Victorian clothes, and they're black and white flashbacks, and where he's drinking beautiful women's blood, and you're not sure really if they're actually if he's thinking back to this or if it's just just in his imagination, because he doesn't bite the necks of his victims. He takes a razor blade, like this on this cover, like a straight razor, I guess you'd call it. He takes a razor blade after he drugs the women. He drugs the women first with a syringe, and then he cuts their wrists or cuts down their arms and drinks their blood that way. And that may be a clue that he's really not a vampire. He's just a kid, a mad kid that likes the taste of blood. But at the beginning, he's traveling from, I think it's Indianapolis, and he goes to Pittsburgh to live with his great uncle and his cousin. And his great uncle calls him Nosferatu throughout the film and threatens him. Said if people start winding up dead, I will kill you myself. And you're not really sure if the uncle is crazy as well, or if he uh, knows more about him than anybody else does. But it's a strange movie. It's a really good short running time of 90 minutes. Um, it was filmed in 1976, but it went to Cannes Film Festival in 1977 to find a distributor. Nobody wanted to release it, and it was finally released for a very brief period. It had a short theatrical run in 1978, and I often found that amazing that as brilliant as George Romero was with Night of the Living Dead and The Crazies, he always had trouble getting his films distributed. I think even Dawn of the Dead, which came out the same year, 1978, it had spotty distribution. It, yeah, go figure. Classic films, but I don't think probably George Romero was probably truly appreciated until maybe the early to mid '80s when Creepshow first came out in '82. You started hearing his name more and more, and I think people started watching his films. They were released on home video, and people say, "Hey, this guy's a really good director. He makes all kinds of good movies." But that's just my take on George Romero. I don't know. And like I said, John Amplis, he stars in this. He's a frequent actor that George Romero used. He was also in a little brief scene in Dawn of the Dead. Had a little bit bigger role in Day of the Dead. He's in Creepshow. And I honestly don't remember him in any of these films other than Dawn of the Dead. I think he gets shot in Dawn of the Dead fairly early. Yeah. And Lincoln Manzel played the great uncle in the film. He's really, really good. He's in a lot of scenes in this film. And like I said, you're not sure if he's crazy like Martin is, or just he knows what Martin is, and he's going to do his best to protect his family. But yeah, excellent film, little known vampire film. Tom Savini, who did makeup for this and done the makeup for Dawn of the Dead, he has a little bit more than a cameo role in this film. He has quite a few lines in this film. He's in this film too, so it's pretty interesting to see him in this film too. George Romero, he has a cameo in this film as a preacher. So yeah, that's a good movie, James. And the second movie he picked for me, James picked vampire movies for everybody to watch. That was his thing this time around. And the second movie he picked for me was 1992's Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I watched this just last night, which was Wednesday night. And I really had a ball watching this one. This was one of the first 4K titles I ever bought, and it looks great on 4K. The soundtrack sounds really good. And say what you will about the movie, about the acting and the story and everything, it's a very well made film. Francis Ford Coppola directed it, and I remember in the summer of '92 hearing about it for the first time, that it was going to come out around Christmas time of '92. I was really excited. I couldn't wait, and I actually saw it. It came out Friday, November 13th of '92, and for some reason I didn't see it opening weekend. I don't remember why, but I saw it on Saturday, November 28th, of '92, and this is my little calendar where I write down my movies that I've watched for the last 30 plus years. Every time I watch a movie, I write it down in these types of calendars, these little monthly planners, and I'm just a big ass movie geek that likes to remember things. And right here, Saturday, November 28th, I went to the theater and saw Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that night, I can't remember if it was on CBS or ABC TV, they showed the 1973 TV version of Dracula with Jack Palance. Just, because Bram Stoker's Dracula was out in theaters and they wanted to show a Dracula movie on TV. But that's a great movie too. And anyway, I saw it in the theater, and the theater was packed that night. It was a chilly night. That night I remember driving. I went by myself. I drove my 1982 Mercury Grand Marquis to the theater, and it was 5 o'clock showing, I think, maybe a little bit after 5, and it was just getting dark as I was pulling in the parking lot. It was chilly. Went inside the theater. It was packed theater. Like I said, it was its second weekend of release, and it was still drawing a good crowd. And I really, really loved the movie, but I've seen it several times over the last 28 years, and it still holds up well. Well-filmed movie. Francis Ford Coppola done a great job of using practical effects. There was no CGI in it. He used matte paintings and rear projection cameras and all that stuff. Great score by Wojciech Kilar. Very haunting score, and of course it starred Gary Oldman as Count Dracula. He should have been nominated for an Academy Award for his performance. Great performance. He really was very overpowering in the film, and of course Anthony Hopkins, fresh off his Oscar win from Silence of the Lambs, he's in this as Abraham Van Helsing. Winona Ryder's in it, Keanu Reeves, and I was kind of laughing at Winona Ryder's performance last night. I never realized how bad that performance was. It was kind of a real ditzy, goofy performance, like an airhead performance as Mina. She played the character Mina in this, which Dracula became infatuated with. But really poor performance from her. But the most talked about performance of the film has always, even from the reviews from '92 when it came out, was Keanu Reeves. And Coppola admitted that he just cast Keanu Reeves as like to draw young girls into see the film, because he was a big draw at the time, good-looking guy from the Bill and Ted movies, and but he gives it. I guess he's acting his ass off in the movie, but when you put him next to Gary Oldman, who's a really, really good actor, he just pretty lame. And I was thinking when I was watching Keanu last night, at the end of every sentence in the movie, you would half expect him to say "dude" at the end. He's just so out there, and it seems lost in his role as Jonathan Harker. And Christian Slater was offered the role of Jonathan Harker first, and he turned it down, which he later regretted. He wished that he would have done it, and it probably would have been even a little bit better film with Christian Slater in it. But Keanu, I think it was horribly miscast, and Winona Ryder, she just done it to make up for dropping out of Godfather 3, which she was supposed to play the role that Sofia Coppola played, and Winona dropped out, and she just done it as pretty much a favor for Coppola to be in his film. But Tom Waits, the singer, gravelly voice. He's in this movie. Very good performance by him. He's pretty memorable. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that's Tom Waits in this film. Uh, he's really good. And it tells, too, for the first time I ever saw in a Dracula film, kind of the backstory of Dracula, how Count Dracula became Dracula. He played, he's actually was a Romanian warrior and called Vlad Dracula. That was his name. And he was known as Vlad the Impaler because he impaled his victims on big stakes and swords and things like that. Uh, he was gave that the movie gave that backstory, which I always thought was kind of cool. But and after I saw the movie in 1992, that chilly November night, I went inside the mall and bought this book at Walden Books magazine, and it's a movie magazine, Dracula, the Complete Vampire. It's got, there's Gary Oldman, and it's got all the Dracula movies in this. It talks about the movies, the books that came out. There's a cover for a pressing of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the book. All kinds of neat little stories in here, but I've held on to this magazine for 28 years, just about. It's got the Christopher Lee films in it, and there's Tom Waits as Renfield. But yeah, there's a picture of what the poster looked like. But Dracula, it was budgeted at $40 million, which was kind of high for 1992, and it made $215 million worldwide. It was a big, big hit, but it kind of got mixed reviews when it came out, mostly due to Reeves's performance. But I always liked it, and I still liked it, and two very solid films, vampire films that I really do enjoy quite a bit. Still yet. Martin, classic. Loved it since the 80s when I saw it, and loved this since the 90s when I first saw it. But that's all I have to say about that. So thank you, Mr. Higgins, for picking those. And I think the next two that I'll watch will be Mr. Bob's films that he picked for me, Inglourious Bastards, and what was the other one? Inglourious Bastards. I forgot. But anyway, I'll get back with those in the next few days, and thanks for watching, and see y'all later. Bye.